And so that's why, he rebelled against the Lord initially, and that's why he was cast out. And so he wanted to take revenge against Yahushua for him being cast out. And I portray this in the story, the Vitae, the life of Adam and Eve. It talks about this perfectly, because there's a passage that shows dialogue between Adam and Eve and the serpent, and they're asking Satan and the serpent why he's afflicting them so much. And they don't understand. They don't know why. And then he goes into the story about how it was because of them that he was cast out from the heavens. And so that's why it was that he wanted to take his revenge against them.
Why was it because of them?
Because he was created in the first Adam's image. He is the second Adam.
No, but why was Adam, the second Adam, why was it his fault that Lucifer was cast out?
Well, because he could not have dominion over the first Adam, the first image of God. See, that's the connection. See, because the second Adam is almost like a little Christ, and it talks about this too, that he was a little Christ. He was to be giving dominion over this planet. And so the first, when Lucifer, because he couldn't take revenge against the might of Yahushua and the Word. He already found that out in his rebellion and his war against them. So he's blaming Adam, the second Adam, because he knows that it's the same thing as the first Adam. He can't take revenge against the first Adam, so he's blaming Adam, the second Adam, for his banishment, because he equates the second Adam as also being connected to the first Adam. You see?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so...
Right, and so because the first Adam cast him out and he could take no revenge against him, then therefore he would take his revenge against the second Adam through his wife Eve and cause the fall and their incarnation into the flesh, what would be the term of the second world age, which would be 7,000 years.
Another way to add a different angle on that is because Lucifer hated the Creator for casting him out, right, he was going to take revenge on that which the Creator loved.
Exactly.
So now let's talk about what the fall was specifically, or if you believe it's better to continue on with the second age and then get into that, whichever.
No, I think we can cover both because they tie in together right here. And there's different versions, and I know you've heard different versions, and I provide different versions in my book, to just because I don't decide one way or the other, I just bring what the scriptures say, different books, and allow people to read them for themselves and make their own determination. And so if there's more than one story, I like to provide, the different sides of it. But what was interesting to me is that when I first came to this knowledge, the Lord led me to, because I wasn't a Christian. I came out of the New Age. I had never even studied the Word, never had even read the Bible in a serious manner. But when the Lord brought me to the Word and I read it fresh, I kept seeing the connections to the fruit and the consequences of the fruit as being something that shouldn't be connected together. It didn't seem to make sense to me why they would be sentenced to bring in children and to work the ground and to give off offspring when they had simply eaten the fruit, and also why it was they would cover up their genitals. And so it was later the Lord led me to what I believe is the fact that when they ate the tree of knowledge of good and evil, whatever that was, and it's my opinion that tree was Lucifer, that it also is symbolic of a vine, and I'll talk about that after this story, but that when they ate of that was what led to death, and that is what led to them incarnating into the flesh, to where the prophecies that the Lord said in chapter 3 when he addresses Eve, Adam, and the serpent, that those things would then become fulfilled when they entered into incarnation into the flesh, into this world garden, into the garden, because they were banished from paradise, that they would live in this world with the devils and the demons, and that we would come up together as the wheat and the tares, and that at the end there would be the harvest and the separation, which would serve two purposes. One, it would serve to reward the righteous and to reward the elect, and it would also serve to condemn the fallen angels, those that rebelled and abandoned their first estate, and all those that would align with Lucifer and his rebellion, because those decisions are still being made by each one of us every day, even right now. Even with us being so close to the end of days and the final harvest, those decisions are being made. Each one of us, every moment, even right now, are in our hearts making decisions to serve one or two masters, or the Laodicean church and sitting on a fence and making no decision one way or the other, which is a choice to serve not good.
So what you're saying, Brother Zen, we're leading into, obviously, the Cain, the son of Lucifer issue, which may in fact be related to the fall. But I think what I heard you say was the eating of this hallucinogenic vine that we'll get into was the fall of their nature into the state that we're in now.
Right.
So the question that I have, because they went on to progenate many offspring, who then are the people that are offered salvation through Jesus Christ. So if they had not eaten that vine and that fall had not occurred, would there still be angel souls in this hall of souls needing to come here for the opportunity of free will?
No, there would be none of all that. If we would have never have fallen into the flesh and into incarnation, we would have never have lost our bright natures and our immortal state.
But how did the eating of the vine by just Adam condemn all of the existing at that time souls in heaven and make them at that point require future incarnations?
Well, that was the grand purpose of all of that unfolding the way that it did. The Lord was going to use Adam and Eve's fall and the creation of what this earth would be, much like a proving ground, for his greater purposes. And his greater purpose is to give us all free will and allow us to choose whether to serve him or not.
So what you're saying is, as we see this as something unfolding, from God's perspective, it was all
all
predetermined and planned. I think I just heard us.
Hey, brother. I don't know what happened.
Well, same thing happened when Pastor Wilhelmsen and I were talking. They're listening, obviously, and they cut us off. Let me just recap a little bit of what we were getting into. From our view, we see something unfolding as the fall of Adam and the sinful nature that we took on that requires redemption. But from God's view, it was all predetermined. It was part of a predetermined plan to allow his new prototype angelic spiritual beings an opportunity to choose free will. Is that basically correct?
Exactly. Because the Lord knew, and he wanted to give all the angels and everybody a chance again. A chance again. Even some of the fallen angels. He's given a lot. No, I'm not talking about those in hierarchy now that truly serve the evil purposes of Satan and that are hardcore, evil, and that don't want redemption and reject salvation completely and utterly. I'm not talking about them. But even some of those that were serving Satan, and that he's given them opportunity to change their direction in this lifetime. Because he's such a loving God. He's so merciful, so compassionate. He doesn't want any one of us to fall away. He doesn't want one person, one soul, one angel to rebel against him and to deviate and to have to suffer the eternal damnations and judgments that he has aligned and put into place. He didn't want to have to do that, but it was necessary because of the rebellion, because of the nature of it, the evilness of it, the overall overwhelming corruption, and the kind of abomination and evil that the angels had introduced in this world. They deserve the judgment that he has awaiting them.
So what you're saying is, as in the book of Enoch, when the fallen angels petitioned Enoch to make a case for them, and the answer came back, no, you will not be given an opportunity. Are you saying for the listeners then that the fallen angels of the rebellion are condemned eternally, or are you saying that some of the fallen angels still have an opportunity to choose?
Those that were judged in that judgment where Enoch told them no, they have no part in salvation. They weep daily because they can't pray or call on the Lord, and they know that their day of reckoning is coming, and they are sorrowful, so very sorrowful. And that's why they're also so very hateful and so very vindictive and revengeful, and that's also why they take glory in the evil and the suffering that they create, because they hate the Creator, because of the condemnation that He's placed on them, because of the destruction that is awaiting them, the obliteration. They will be no more in existence. I mean, they are going to be blotted out forever.
Which subset of fallen angels are they relative to all of the fallen angels?
I would say that, there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground where you have angels that maybe didn't make a decision one way or the other, same as the Laodicean church, and that weren't in hierarchies, that couldn't serve one way or the other as far as being major players in the angelic wars. That the middle ground, as you call them, the Ophanium, or those that were the majority, the bulk, that even though they were part and had partial play in the angelic wars, their determination as far as their judgment and salvation would come in the flesh, in the body, through the fall that occurred through Adam and Eve, and the incarnation in the flesh that would take place because of the eating of whatever it was, that knowledge of the fruit, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Whatever that was, and because I don't say, and I'm careful to not say that was sex, because in my opinion, it was something that led to incarnation into the flesh and into Eve being pregnant with Cain. But it was not, because in my opinion, again, there was no sex prior. And so it wasn't a physical, sexual kind of, it was something that imprinted on their bright nature, their angelic spiritual beings, that caused the corruption and caused them to incarnate into the flesh, where they would then fulfill all the prophecies of chapter 3, where Eve would give childbirth. She would bear Cain, who would be the firstborn son of the devil. He'd have his own seed line. And then there would be Abel, who would be killed by his brother. She would then give birth to Seth, and it would be through Seth that the enmity between the bloodlines, the seed lines, the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, would take place over the course of the 7,000-year Second World Age.
You just added some clarity to me on my, quote, angel theory. I believe, and this is not dogmatic, this is my opinion, I believe that the group of fallen angels that were kind of like just caught up in the draft, not really part of their free will to be part of this rebellious army, their souls of those fallen angels are the souls that get incarnated, that get incarnated into these fleshly bodies that we are, and then when they die and are born again, they get born again into the new prototype, in the image of God, spiritual body of Jesus Christ, the template. Does that sound correct?
Absolutely, because what Christ brought to us as far as being born again was to give up the corrupted DNA and to return back to the bright-natured, immortal state that we had before, they abandoned their first estate.
So we
to the flesh.
So we are, in fact, fallen angels' souls.
Yes, we are. Not necessarily, because I want to clarify this. We're not those fallen angels that rebelled, as far as was the 1/3 that were cast out that have no part in salvation, that we're not the 200 that left their first estate and went down on Mount Hermon according to the book of Enoch and took wives of the daughters of Cain and impregnated them and created a race of giants and hybrids that then became the demigods, the cannibalistic men of renown of, prior to the flood. We're not them. But yeah, we are fallen angels. We're part of the pre-existing order of things that was, part of the first world age. That we're spiritual incarnations, that we've been in existence since the very beginning, as everybody and all things have been, and that it wasn't until Adam and Eve fell and that, incarnation in the flesh would take place that we would come into these bodies to live these lifetimes and to, live out our destinies and serve one way or the other as far as salvation and our masters.
Let me bring this together, and then we could continue on. So, when Christ manifested as the first Adam, or God manifested as the first Adam, that prototype design would, in the future, at the beginning of the second age, become the Adam that we know, that the Adam,
exactly.
Adam man.
Right.
And prior to that,
spirit-filled, breath-filled Adam.
Right. Prior to that, between the manifestation of God as Christ and the first Adam, and that brought light to the universe, between that point and the point where the second Adam was created as the prototype design, that the angels ruled the universes and set up kingdoms and worlds, etc. At some point, an angel war and rebellion occurred, and many of the angels that ended up on the rebellious side of the army were not there by their will. They might have just, as in an analogy, been drafted in a sense or caught up. And it's that group, not the ones that willfully rebelled and were part of the 1/3 that were fallen and condemned, or part of the watchers, 200 watchers of Enoch on Mount Hermon. Not that group, but the majority that were on particular parts of the universe that ended up being in the territories of the fallen angels that were rebelling. Those souls are the ones that in a later time would incarnate into the new template of Adam man, which we are here now.
Right, and not just it wasn't just the hierarchy of the fallen angels, because you have also the souls of the good angels, those that serve Yahweh and Yahushua, Savior Messiah. You have them incarnating into the flesh too, as some of the apostles. It even talks about in the Pistis Sophia how the Lord had picked the apostles even before the foundations of the world, and that they were supposed to come into the flesh, and that they had elect positions, and that perhaps they were some of the archangels in flesh. Who knows how it all unfolds? But you don't have just fallen angels incarnating here. You have both groups. You have both good and bad angels incarnating here to prove their free will determination to serve either Yahweh and Yahushua, Savior Messiah, or Satan and the fallen angels, and so that's the only choice we have. That's why we're here.